Jack Grealish are your goal scorers. Let's take a look at the Group 2 standings there in League B, where we find England and Ireland. England currently atop the group, thanks to the victory. All right, for more on this, let's welcome into the show our good friend and colleague, Nedum Onuoha. Nedum, what do you think? Lee Carsley, hand him the keys now or what? That was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I'm pretty sure Ali said that England are the new Brazil. And I can get behind that, very much so. I think in terms of Lee Carsley being manager, he obviously brings good vibes from under 21, similar to how Southgate did when he first took over, and blood in some new players today. And this game itself against Ireland, for context, this is a big rivalry as such, not because they get a chance to play each other, but because of the history of the two nations. Usually this is like blood, thunder, everything. You're going in, you're getting stuck into each other. But England controlled the game essentially from start to finish. And the highlight you showed for Ireland was a moment in transition. I think when you've got 26% possession at home, you're not really firing into tackles and the game's being controlled by the opposition like the old enemy. I think there's huge disappointment from the Irish side, but from England, it's what they wanted to see from a new manager. I think there was a sense of freedom, and obviously the opposition they faced wasn't the best that they'll see going forward. But, if this is the group you're going to be in for the Nations League, then you'll expect more of that. But for Carsley, he looked very comfortable on that side. And again, it's interesting that his first game was against the Ireland team, which he used to play for. And then the goal scorers for England are two players that also played for Ireland. But yeah, as far as vibes go, for all those who would be tuning in to watch England in the international break, I think they'd be happy to see some new faces, see some goals and some good attacking football.
Not necessarily new faces, Shaka, but interesting faces in Maguire and Grealish. What do you think of their performances and their inclusion specifically?
Listen, I thought Lee Carsley and this squad, and as much as Nedum has just joined the parallel with Carsley and Southgate, you don't see that happening. And then a lot as we've been discussing with an interim manager, it's about where you find your motivations. I'll be honest, I don't read an awful lot into the selections, the performance, or the result. I think playing in Group 2 of the Nations League, England should make very easy work of this group, despite the rivalry. But that's less about sport than it is about kind of the culture and the history of the two nations. You take the win and you move on, and you wait to see who inherits that hot seat. As we said, I don't see it being Carsley.
Well, having said that, Shaq, I actually do like and appreciate the fact that Anthony Gordon and Jack Grealish can play on the left-hand side at the same time. Not one or the other, but actually Anthony Gordon can go and run in behind, and then that opens up space underneath for Jack Grealish. And while I wholeheartedly agree with you that the reason you have Alexander-Arnold on the field inside the 18-yard box and scored a goal. So while, yes, I understand this is a very limited Ireland team, they should be better, England should be better than all of these teams in this group, I still think it's encouraging to see the potential of what it could be if indeed you're willing to take those chances going forward. We were not seeing this with Gareth Southgate. Mm-hmm. That combination, specifically that combination down the left-hand side, would not have happened. And so to see it, that it can actually not only happen, but can thrive, even if it is against a lesser opposition, I think it's encouraging.
Nedum, how much better than did this team look than the one we saw at the Euros? And what specifically do you think was different?
To be honest, primarily it's the opposition. If we remember, we didn't see an Ireland side at that Euros, so they obviously weren't good enough to qualify for that competition itself. So they didn't have something that, say, those other teams did have. And I think from this England side, yes, being able to see Grealish, being able to see Gordon playing in that side, and the sort of freedom that they had as well to be moving around, because it was good for Grealish to get himself inside, and he wasn't, say, sticking out wide some of the time. He'd be inside trying to affect the game, with Gordon still trying to stretch the game. And in some ways, that kind of benefited like a Harry Kane, because even though at times he was isolated, there were times also when someone else could stretch it and he could come a bit shorter. So that helps his game as well. And I think the way that he picked that team, Carsley, obviously there's some people who are unavailable, but the team that he picked and the way he got them to play, I thought was interesting. Having it whereby Mainoo was playing a lot deeper than, say, Rice was for long periods of the game, well, that was different. But then I think with Carsley, as was the case a year ago, I think he played when he was with the under-21s and they won the European Championships and the under-21 Championships. They had like Curtis Jones playing like a deeper role, so we know that he can sometimes think outside of the box to play into the strengths of other people. And I think that's what we saw today. And this England side, they don't have the pressure of being in tournament football. And as we saw with this summer, there weren't that many teams that really put their best foot forward in the tournament. Maybe it was the pressure, maybe it was the amount of games that have been played, but it looked like a fresher England side. It looked like a team that was keen to sort of stamp their authority on this Nations League group, and they're going to be doing everything they can to make sure that they're not in this group again going forward.
Nedum, we've seen national teams, England, Spain more recently, go with former youth national team coaches in the past. Obviously, we know what Shaka thinks of Lee Carsley, but based on what you saw today, does it boost your opinion of him as a potential future full-time manager for England?
I think the sense of familiarity definitely does make a difference, and I think the fact that England now do work closely with also the 21s coaches and players, I think that is important because the squad itself in the coming years will be very young, it looks like. So somebody that's able to coach those players would be great. But I think when it comes from an England perspective, like, people are always keen to say give someone an opportunity, but when it's tournament time, they want somebody with experience. They want somebody that they believe will be able to help the team get over the line. I don't necessarily know who that is. And until it happens, we can't say it's anybody at all. But in Carsley, he seems like he has an idea of how he wants the team to play. But then, because it's England, like, realistically, there's no rich history of success. I think it was in Italian 90, or maybe 92. I think it was Italian 90. They were like open-top bus parades for the team for making it to the quarter-final of the World Cup. So realistically, they're not that successful. But now we're in a position whereby, they want to see nice football. They want to see attacking football. But lo and behold, if they have an opportunity to win, before you know it, all the eyes are, well, you should have won anyway with the team that they have. But Carsley has as fair a chance as anybody else when it comes down to availability, as we've seen in club management and international management. You can only take what's there. And Carsley, being the man who stepped up, he's opened his account with a win. Seems like the vibes are similar. Things haven't changed too much, but they seem to be heading in the right direction. I think he's, even though I understand Shaka doesn't believe there's much to be seen from the game, but if they would have lost 2-0, then I think we would have seen it in a different manner. So I think it's possible for him to have it, and whether that leads to success, who knows? But I'm sure if the opportunity is there for him, I bet he'll take it with both hands.
For sake of accuracy, in the 1990 World Cup, England made it to the semifinals.
I was just about to say, I thought my memory was not off.
I'm just saying they beat Cameroon in the quarterfinals.
Accuracy is so important here on
Well,
ESPN
when we know the information, we want to share it.
Did you guys notice one of the names on that list? Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah, I was about to.
1.
Yeah, I was.
10-1.
Why is he on that list? I thought it was all U.S. all the time.
The whole list was odd.